You've got to get into a filthy garbage can and roll down on you. Right. So, okay, girlfriend, what's the time for the day? You don't have to deal with my It's okay, girlfriend. I'm just gonna smile and think about the money. All right. Lost a loved one. Okay. Oh, yes. Mama. Who the hell is that on the monitor? Is that Cedric the Entertainer?
Step 1. Draw the little trapezoid that you see. Step 2. Add the symmetrical shape for his glasses. Step 3. Add the squiggly line for his nose. Notice the proximity to the glasses. Step 4. Add the sideways triangle shape. Before you draw, find it in the corresponding shape in the reference image. Step 5 is very important. Be sure to notice the unique line between his lips. After you do that, add the upper lip. Step 6. Add the lower lip. Step 7. Add the lines that look like the letter Y. Step 8. Add the facial hair. Step 9. Add the pencil mustache. Step 10. Add the side of the face. Step 11. Add the ear and the side of the glasses. Take your time with Step 12 and add the other side of the face. Step 13. Add the ear and complete the glasses. Step 14. Add the top of Pitbull's head. Step 15. Add the shapes in Pitbull's glasses. For Step 16, we're going to focus on the glasses, and you can clearly see in the reference image that it's the darkest part. So I still want you to build it up slowly. I'm using a regular pencil. You'll actually see me use two pencils that look different, but really they're the same thing, and they're just an HB pencil. And I'm doing cross-hatching, and I'm building it up relatively slowly. If you're new to cross-hatching, I have a link to my tutorial for that up in the right-hand corner. Be sure to check that out. And just look at the reference image on the screen. That should help you. You'll notice the shapes that are in the reference image. You can see part of his cheek, and the upper eye is very, very dark. You don't even see the pupil and iris. So go as dark as you can at the top. Later on, you'll see me come back and go even darker with another pencil, with a 7B pencil. But for now, I'm just filling this in as dark as a number 2 HB pencil can. Now this is a really important part of the drawing because it's our darkest dark, and you have to think of shading as a scale. Actually, we have the darkest dark and the lightest light here. If you notice the reflection that's happening on the glasses, that's an extreme contrast. That's the lightest light. So we judge everything else, and the skin tones, that's going to be the trickiest part. We judge everything else off of those 2 points, the darkest dark and the lightest light. And if you can see, there's very few things that can even come close to matching it. Perhaps just the clothing, but we haven't even added that yet, and that's totally optional. I'm going to edit later, but if you want to edit, that's entirely up to you. By the way, I'm leaving a link to my shading tutorial up in the upper right-hand corner, so if you're like, huh, what is he doing? You might want to check that out. Now for step 17, we are going to move on to the lower face, and we have a challenge ahead of us. We don't see anything as dark as the glasses. We don't see anything as light as the reflection on the glasses. We see a lot of neutral stuff. And I'm starting out at the cheek. That is a feature of Pitbull's face that you have to get correct if you want to get a likeness of him. If you notice the line, the Y shape that you added, that's a very varied line. It is varied in tone, it is varied in thickness. So you really have to observe those points. And in terms of tools, I'm using a blending stump, I'm using a paintbrush. There's no water on the paintbrush. I get a lot of questions. Do you use any water? Nope. Graphite is slippery. Think of it as oily. And you don't want to mix water with that. But I just use a paintbrush. It accumulates graphite over time, and it makes it nice and easy to smudge. And I find that that really helps me. This is where you really have to become somewhat of a surgeon. I mean, you can always change things, whereas in, say, brain surgery, if you make a mistake, your patient is kind of screwed. Well, Pitbull is our patient right now, and you have an eraser in your hand, and notice how light I'm going. I'm going very slowly, and I can always erase my mistakes. Just think of it as something that you can sculpt over time. So don't feel the pressure. If you mess up, you mess up. Use the kneaded eraser for the bigger highlights. If you notice, there's one right by his nose on his left side, your right side. But actually, no, there's highlights on both sides, and I use the kneaded eraser to kind of sculpt those out. Whereas a pencil eraser, you're just dealing with a pretty fine point for an eraser, so you won't be able to get the same flexibility with it. I find that tool very helpful, the kneaded eraser. I'm going to make this go on a little bit further later. You're going to see me kind of put everything together later. But for now, this is where you should be at with the shading. You can always play this again. I would say that this is the trickiest part in terms of shading. Now for step 18, we are going to do Pitbull's Cranium. And it's a shiny cranium, so we got our work cut out for us. I want to point out that the darker parts are somewhat at the edges, but we don't want our edges to be outlines. I can't stress that enough. Notice the difference, and you're going to see me change this. There. Notice the difference between the upper head and the lower head, and we kind of have to change that because if you look at the reference image, there's no dark line that goes around. There's an edge, and yes, edges are a little bit sharper, but you don't want it to just seem like an outline, and that's tough because you're dealing with a pencil, and pencils have points. But that's where hatching comes in. That's where all of the other tools come in and are really helpful. So look at the darks, look at the lights, and do your best to match them. That is your challenge for this part. Use the eraser as much as you can, to create the highlights. Use the pencil to give yourself the shades. It's a matter of practice. You're not going to get it right away, but eventually you will get it. Alright, so now we just simulated moving around and doing different parts of the face, not just getting stuck in one area, but moving the pencil around and developing your drawing evenly. And at this stage, I'm putting on not quite the finishing touches, but I really want to look at the reference image, or if I have the luxury, the person who would be sitting for me, but Pitbull isn't sitting for me, so I'm looking at my reference image, and I'm looking for the tones, and I'm trying to match the tones. I'm using a different pencil now. This is a 7B pencil, and it's actually pretty difficult to take a leap, that far. Usually, when I started drawing, I would do maybe a jump from an HB pencil to a 2B pencil, which is a little bit darker. And this is a huge jump, so I would recommend, if you are somebody who has drawn before, okay, then you take a chance, but if you're new to this, just go slowly, develop it slowly. I added the body, and you're going to see me actually use a marker. That's a one of my Prismacolor markers, and I actually wound up making my life more difficult because I liked where the tones were right here, and then I have to, notice the dark down there. Now I'm going to have to darken everything else, and that wound up being a whole lot more work for me. But sometimes we take chances. Sometimes they don't pay off. But this is still salvageable, so I'm going to salvage it, and I just have to darken the tones. So I'm going a little bit darker on the forehead. This is a perfect teaching opportunity, actually, because it shows everybody that you darken the area below. Okay, this is about relativity. I have to do the same with the other areas, and you'll see me do that. Not just darken, but also contrast. For instance, the highlights on top of the head, on the chin, on the nose, on the cheeks. Those are going to get lighter. And we're trying for those neutral areas as well. Bottom line is, I just didn't want to leave a floating head. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. No floating heads. So I drew the body in, and yep, like I said, had to adjust everything else. Notice the subtle shadow that's going on the forehead, and I think I did a pretty good job with that. I think that the last thing that you're seeing me doing is work the area in the lower part of the face and the mid part of the face, so that I could get those highlights in. But I think I got the likeness, and just putting on the finishing touches now. Darkening the facial hair and the chin, and checking my edges, and I'm done. So if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button and leave me comments. Those of you who've watched my videos before know I answer a lot of those comments. And yeah, if you really like this one, perhaps share it with your friends. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and keep those requests coming, and yeah, let's just leave it at thank you. I hope that you enjoyed this one.